Hey, what's up, everybody? Brian here from LTL Media, and we have a major development in the Karen Read lawsuit. WCVB is reporting that the defendants are trying to move the entire case out of Massachusetts State Court into federal court. And you're asking yourself, well, why would they want to do that? Well, they claim federal jurisdiction and they want a new playing field. But supporters say that these tactics are to delay, control the process, protect the key players. So I'm going to break all this article down and just give you kind of my interpretation of what I see and what I think is going on here. But let's do this first. Let's read through the article. Karen Read's civil suit against several witnesses who testified against her in John O'Keefe's murder trial will be moved from Bristol County Superior Court to the United States District Court for the District of Massachusetts. In court filings on Tuesday, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Brian Higgins claimed Read's civil case, quote, is vengeful abuse of the judicial process, and that it is an ongoing malicious attempt to evade responsibility for the death of John O'Keefe. The Alberts, McCabe's, and Higgins asked to move the court's venues and pointed specifically to Read's claim that her Fourth Amendment rights were violated during the investigation into O'Keefe's death. The Fourth Amendment protects people against unreasonable searches and seizures. Tuesday's filing said that part of her complaint is, quote, exclusively and expressively based on federal statute, raising substantial federal issues central to establishing Read's claim for relief. According to the court's website, the case was transferred to U.S. District Court. O'Keefe was found dead during a snowstorm on January 29, 2022. Earlier this month, Read filed an explosive lawsuit alleging that others were responsible for his death and that investigators failed to pursue those leads. She was found not guilty of murder this summer after a second high-profile trial in death of O'Keefe. A Boston police officer, Read, was found guilty of drunk driving. Quote, now, after being acquitted of all charges relating to Mr. O'Keefe's death, Ms. Read brings this action to recover the actions of those actually involved in Mr. O'Keefe's death and the lawsuit law enforcement officers who objectively failed to ensure that justice was served, her lawsuit states. It names as defendants former Trooper Michael Proctor, Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, Lieutenant Brian Tully, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, and Brian Higgins. 5 of those witnesses claim they plan to sue Read and Turtle Boy blogger Aidan Carney for defamation, though no lawsuit has been filed. So let me give you my thoughts on this. And shout out to Boozy Beauty on Twitter, Attorney Corey Hopkins on Twitter. They gave an amazing breakdown of all of this. I've been watching it in real time, and I'm going to give you my interpretation of all this. So you're probably asking yourself, what just happened? Well, the Alberts, McCabe's, and Brian Higgins just filed paperwork to move Karen Read's civil lawsuit out of Massachusetts State Court into a federal court. So what does this mean? The second they filed this paperwork, the Massachusetts judge lost control of this case, and everything in the state stopped immediately. No hearings, no deadlines, nothing moved forward in the state court anymore. So you ask yourself, why were they allowed to do that? Well, Karen's lawsuit includes a claim that her constitutional rights were violated, specifically her Fourth Amendment rights, through a conspiracy involving police and the House defendants. Anytime a lawsuit claims my federal constitutional rights were violated, the defendants have the right to move it to federal court. That is the rule. Now you ask yourself, well, why would they want to move this to federal court? Well, it's all part of their strategy. Federal court helps them because federal juries come from a bigger area, not just Bristol County. Fewer people who know about the case, and that could limit fewer people who helped support Karen in her 2 murder trials. Then you have federal judges are stricter about lawsuits like this, so it's easier for them to get the case thrown out, and federal cases move much slower. The delay helps the defendants. Speaking about delay, this is all about delaying, because when you move these to federal court, it almost slows the case down by months or even years. And what does this do? Well, it helps them in the long run because Karen has to continue to pay for her lawyers. Experts cost money, and the longer it drags out, it is harder for her. This is a severe pressure tactic, and that is why it is still important to continue to fundraise and donate to Karen Read's civil case defense fund. It's super important. It helps her continue to fight back corruption here in Norfolk County, and it helps her get one step closer to justice for John O'Keefe. So the McAlberts, McCabe's, and Brian Higgins are essentially attacking Karen's motives. In the filing, they say that the lawsuit is a, quote, vengeful abuse of judicial process, meaning they're claiming Karen is only suing to get revenge and ruin the reputations of the people who testified against her. This tells us their plan to make Karen look bitter and spiteful and say that she's blaming others instead of accepting responsibility, even though she's acquitted and even though we know that she did not do it. And all the defendants are sticking together to move the case to federal court. All defendants who were served have to agree. The McAlberts, McCabe's, and Higgins have agreed. Tully's agreed. Buchanan's agreed. And even Proctor, even though he hasn't been officially served yet, we know he will agree. This prevents Karen's team from arguing the removal wasn't valid. So now you're asking yourself, well, what happens now? Now that it's in federal court, everything basically starts over. The federal judge takes over and the state court cannot do anything. Their lawyers now have 28 days to submit the state court paperwork into the federal system. And why does the federal court help the defendants? Well, federal court gives this several advantages. The judge are more likely to dismiss parts of the lawsuit early. Police officers have stronger legal protections there. The rules about evidence are tougher, and juries are less emotional and less local. So in short, federal court is usually better for defendants in cases involving police and government behavior. So what will they do next? Their next move will almost certainly be to ask the federal judge to do a couple of things: throw out the federal claims, dismiss part of the lawsuit, and protect the police defendants with qualified immunity. If they get the federal claims thrown out, they will then argue, send the rest back to the state court, but only after they've removed the stronger part of the lawsuit. So in bottom line, in the simpler terms, the House defendants, McAlberts, McCabe's, Higgins, and their lawyers want a friendlier court, want a slower process, and want to make the court more expensive for Karen. Again, still very important to continue to fundraise for her, and they want a jury that doesn't know or care about Canton. They want to try to get this case dismissed. Moving the case to federal court gives them much better chance of winning or weakening the lawsuit. So that's basically my breakdown. Again, shout out to Boozy Beauty on Twitter, on X, whatever it is called now. Attorney Corey Hopkins. They've been doing phenomenal jobs of breaking this down. We'll keep our eyes on this. If you like this video today, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. This is going to be a long time, folks. So tighten the seat belts. Sit back in the seats. We got a long journey here ahead of us. And again, it's very important to continue to fundraise for Karen Read and help her through these civil litigations. My name is Brian, and I'll talk to everybody soon. And thank you today for watching LTL Media. Talk to you guys soon. Take care. Have a nice holiday. Bye-bye.